Hi, this is Linda. Welcome to a cozy, unplanned weekend with me. Let's go ahead and dive in. I woke up to rain on Saturday morning, a lot of rain, but it was perfectly cozy because I didn't have anywhere I had to be. I made my coffee and grabbed my scones and went and sat down at my desk. Pumpkin, of course, followed me, and I dove into my journal first. Often I will plan first thing in the morning, but I just wasn't feeling like planning. And honestly, I end up not planning at all weekend. And it felt so good. I love my paper planner. Don't get me wrong. I love to plan, but sometimes you just need a break. And that was what I was really needing this weekend. And so that's what I ended up doing. So if you're new here, I start each day with a marshmallow latte with oat milk. And I shared my recipe for the marshmallow syrup in episode number 1. So if you want that, go ahead and check that one out after this. And I also make vanilla scones, which I will share that in a future video. And I have this every morning, whether I go to the office or at home, but of course at home it's just a slower pace. And I like to start my day sometimes with planning, sometimes with journaling. Today you can see I'm starting with journaling, and I just started out by writing a rainy day vibes because that was just really the vibe of the morning. As far as what I journal about, it's really just whatever comes to mind as I sit down and think and just let the words kind of spill out on the page. I'm very much a stream of conscious journaler. I don't journal a ton about, this is what happened factually. Occasionally I do, but really my focus is just kind of what's in my head and getting it down on paper. A lot of times that seems kind of rambling or unimportant, but to me it's very important because just the act of getting it out on paper helps clear my brain. Pumpkin, my cat, is also sitting here because he loves scones, and I have taught him that he can have some if he sits patiently and waits. He is not so great about being patient, but he tries. He wants to eat the scones much faster than I do, but it's definitely fun to have him as a companion in the morning while I have my breakfast. My weekly spreads in my Hobonichi cousin are for a recap of what happens. This is actually where I put the factual notes about what happened each day. These aren't super detailed, but just, this is what happened first, second, third. I use Coffee Monster Co. stickers to decorate it just for fun, but my main purpose in documenting this is so that I have a reference when I go back and work on Project Life. I typically do this every day, but you can see here it's Saturday morning and I hadn't updated it since Wednesday, whoops. So I struggle a little to fill in the gaps when it's a couple days old, but I ended up doing it and use the Coffee Monster Co. stickers just to have a little fun while I'm doing it. storm passed and there was a bunny outside on my steps. Now time for a desk refresh before I dive into the rest of the day. Okay, I'm cleaning off my desk to give myself a little bit of peace of mind, and I'm just kind of rearranging everything, getting things where they need to be. My stickers and markers and everything I keep in this pouch that I take around with me around the house and sometimes like out of the house. So I have that. Here's my craft planner. I have this pile of, this was an order I received from Mingo Illustrated, which is a Etsy shop. And I just got a bunch of stickers. I got a couple here and a card from my friend. So I'm gonna put that aside for her birthday. And then I got a bunch of stickers for myself. Here's my planner. Bring back over my daily journal here. I caught up my weekly. But here's today's daily. So I'm just gonna flip back to this. And I think I'm gonna put this one on here today. So when I buy stickers like this, I'm often thinking like, I used to always think like, oh my gosh, they're so precious. I don't want to use them. I don't want to waste them. And then they end up just sitting in my stash forever. So what I'm trying to do is use my stuff more. So right now, I'm just really like focused on using things and getting them in my journal and prioritizing my journal as a place for the things that I love. So let's see, I'm putting some washi down. That was just like a blue one in my stash. And then this is from the September kits from Cocoa Daisy, if I could find the end. And you see, I like set up my pages, and I don't typically do that, but I was just really enjoying that sticker set. And then let's get this guy on here. Okay, so I often clean off my desk when I'm feeling a little bit stressed and overwhelmed. So what I'm doing now is just kind of going through all of this stuff that I have out and seeing kind of what I need to do. It's a Saturday morning. I could plan out my day. I'm thinking I'm not going to though, because I don't have a ton that I actually have to do. So these are all my new stickers. I'm gonna go ahead and stick this sheet in here with some of the stickers that I flip through pretty regularly to add to my daily pages. These larger stickers I have in a drawer, so I'm gonna put those away. And this is like a marketing card, so I have a spot for those as well to get those off my desk. Then let's see, my sticky notes. Go back by my computer. I have a few other things that I need to organize. So these are all media covers that need to go in my daily journal to back journal for the year. And I have a few I need to print out for the last few days. So I need to get to that this morning. I have this whole stack of like sticky notes of random notes that need to get put in places. So I'm gonna work on that. And then this is like a little tray I keep on my desk for just like random things. And it's getting too full. So I'm just gonna like empty it out and kind of go through it and see what I can like toss or move elsewhere so this isn't so overwhelming on my desk. I also have this little one for paper clips, which I have a few in here that clearly should go in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and organize this and then probably move to my computer and start working on some digital organization and printing some media to back journal in here. Okay, I'm gonna try something new, which hopefully it works. But basically, what I did was I screen captured my computer at the same time that I videoed myself using the computer so you can see what I'm doing. But basically, what I'm doing now is working on printing media. I need to print a few movie covers to add to my journal. So I have changed so that I am putting my media in my Hobonichi cousin, but I have a few movies that we saw that I didn't have a chance yet to print out. So I'm working on that first. So what I do to get my movie covers is I just go on Google and I search for the movie, find the cover, and then I save it to my computer. I open it in Photoshop. I resize it to 1.25 inches and 300 pixels or dots per inch. And then I have it ready to print to put into my journal. Because I print on 8.5 by 11 paper, I don't want to waste the page. So I'm going through my process of finding other things to print as well. So I use Photoshop. I have the full Photoshop, but I used to use Photoshop Elements, and you can use the same process because that's what I used to do. But basically what I do is I have a document that is saved, which I have saved as print page, and it is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that is 300 dots per inch, which is the resolution you want to print photos at so that they are good quality when you put them in your journal or your projects. I use this to print all of my scrapbooking photos as well as my journal photos, but today we're working on printing photos for my journal. So I open this document in Photoshop, and then I'm going to drag and drop all of the things I want to print on it. Of course, I know I want to do these movie covers, so that is going to be the first thing that I put on my page. I have to leave a little bit of a border around the edge because the printer won't print all the way to the edge of the paper. So I am just laying everything out on the paper, and we'll work to add some more media to print on here as well. Okay, so I'm going through my photo process, and I know this is going to be hard to do the voiceover and to see, but hopefully this gives you enough insights into my process that you can try to adopt this for yourself. Though I do need to disclaimer that I don't feel like my digital organization is the best. And this process works partially because I use Mac for everything. So all of my photos are in my photo stream from my phone. They automatically appear on my computer, and then I drag and drop them into folders that are on my iMac and my iCloud to have them organized the way that I want them to be. I have all of my photos put into folders by week that are into folders by month, and that's partially because I document project life weekly. So I like to have the photos kind of just organized in that way. It makes it easier for me when I'm working on that project. I also have a folder on my computer called Media, etc. And hopefully you can see this in the video, but I have some folders inside of that. And those are Add to Commonplace, Add to Pinterest, Book Thoughts, Prompt Lists, Things to Remember, and to Print Media. So basically what I do at the end of every week or every so often, I will drag and drop everything that I took during the week into the folder for that week. Any photos I took that are for posting on Instagram or on YouTube will go into a separate folder under scrapbooking, but we're not going to talk about that here. Everything else goes into that folder. So this would be photos that I take of my life, but it will also be screenshots. I take a lot of screenshots. Some of them are of inspiration that I find on the internet. Other ones are just like cute images or memes. I save all of those things. Then what I do is I go back through my folders after the week has happened and I delete things that I don't want to keep. Everything is stored on my iCloud. I do pay for much larger iCloud storage, but I will run out of space if I keep things. And I don't need to save every single meme that I've ever screenshotted. That's just a waste of space. So what I do is I go through my folders and I will delete photos that I no longer want, like duplicates or blurry photos, or photos that I took just because they were relevant at that point in time, like a photo of a package that I want to remember, something like that. And then I will take the photos that are screenshots and all of those other things, and I will drag and drop them into these folders in my media folder. I'm only going to talk about a few of these, but generally the ones that I am focused on in this video are the ones called to print media. And these are things that I want to print out to put in my journal. So I'm just dragging and dropping them into that folder. And then when they're in there, I can go to that folder and pull the things onto my page to have enough things to print for the specific 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that I want to fill. I'm not going to go through all of those other things, but I do want to say the Add to Pinterest one are for inspirational images because I screenshot all the time from YouTube videos I'm watching or Instagram when I'm scrolling. I will screenshot things that inspire me. And then what I will do to free up the space on my phone and on my computer is I will upload those photos to Pinterest. Because they don't link back to the original sources because they were screenshots, I have them on a private Pinterest board so that other people can't repin them because I don't want it to be attributable to me because it's not my original work. But I have them saved in there rather than saving them on my computer. And that way I have them for reference when I want to use them as inspiration. I do try to have the screenshot show who created it so that I can always reference back if I end up using it as a piece of inspiration. So I want to also point out that I'm referencing my planner frequently, and that's because I track which weeks I have already gone through to pull out all of the images and sort. So I have like a list, and I call it my digital file organization, of every week listed out, and I'm checking them off as I do them. I do end up running out of folders to go through frequently of recent photos because I do this process pretty regularly, but I do have some older years that I haven't gone through. I think it's like 2022 because I wasn't printing any of my media and I just got behind on organizing, and I didn't have this process yet. So when I run out of stuff to print, I will go back to older folders, and so I use my old Hobonichi cousin from last year to document that and keep track of which folders I have already organized. Okay, so I'm back at my desk. I just printed some media. I wanted to get enough media to fill the full page. So basically, what I do is I print my media out on my photo paper or my photo printer on what's called Epson branded matte photo paper, which is ridiculously thin. Look at this. This is like regular printer paper thickness, but it has like a good coating on it, and it's a bright white so that you can print photos and media and everything on it, and it's gonna look good compared to like printing on like plain paper. I mean, it's not gonna be quite as good as on like glossier photo paper, but it's still gonna look pretty good. So I filled the page. First of all, I printed these media pieces, which is what I ultimately like needed to print or wanted to print to do my journaling this morning. And these are some of the movies I've watched over the last week or so. And then I filled the rest of the page. A lot of these are screenshots of things. You saw me going through my computer and kind of my process for how I pick out things to print. And then I filled the last bit of it with some bits of designed elements from Ali Edwards from the July Stories by the Month kit. This is something that's new to me. I haven't done this in the past. I saw Sabrina do it. Her name is Mrs. Scrap and Plan. And she does have a YouTube channel where she shares her Hobonichi cousin, and she does a lot of these printed elements in hers. And I liked that idea, so I decided to try it out and print some. It's also easier way to fill the page when I didn't have more media to print. You saw I finished going through everything that I have so far from 2024, so I'm still working back through 2022 when I wasn't printing media in this way. So I'm going back through that. Of course, some of the things I screenshotted back then aren't relevant anymore, but I'm going through and printing the ones that I still really like. So this is where I am right now. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and crop all of these out and spend some time working on my Hobonichi cousin and just getting it filled a little bit. I also have this stack of like sticky notes here that have been accumulating on my desk. Some of these are for legit are notes for my Hobonichi cousin. Other ones are things that can be thrown away or transferred other places. And I'm gonna work on getting through that. Basically, my goal this morning is, rather than spending time, planning out my day and working on newer tasks, I'm gonna try to focus on finishing all of these unfinished things that are sitting on my desk. I'm not going to do all of this media today because that would take all day. And I do have other things I want to do, but I'm gonna spend some time this morning just relaxing. I'm gonna put on some TV and just work on adding to my journal, going through this stack, and see where I am. After working through the media and adding some more media to my journal, I took a break and I planned out a bunch of my trip to Berlin, which took most of my day, but I didn't film that because that's not that entertaining for you guys. And I did some journaling and then I relaxed and played my Switch and then made fajitas for dinner. I started Sunday very similar to how I started Saturday, except the sun was shining. I got my coffee and my scones and went to my desk and pulled out my journal. I started my journaling with Sunday reset because that was really just how I was feeling this morning. I just kind of needed more of a reset. I feel like this entire weekend ended up being sort of a reset for me, which was really great and unexpected. But I'm kind of happy that I filmed this vlog on this weekend for that reason, so you guys can see kind of what it looks like for me on a weekend when I'm not really planning and not really trying to get all the stuff done, but instead just kind of living my life and just kind of enjoying as I go. So I start with my journaling. I did my weekly spread. Again, I didn't really go into my daily planner, but instead I moved into one of my favorite, most relaxing activities, which was bring out a magazine and cut pieces out of it for my journal or just like in general. So one of the things that I do in my journal is I use alphabets that I cut out of magazines to title my monthly spreads. And I found that J's are very, very hard to find. And I used them all up in June. And I really wanted to find one. So it took me a long time to find a J. I don't actually end up finding it in this footage, I don't believe. But that was kind of my priority goal in cutting out for magazines. But I was also just kind of looking through what I wanted to get. I did share more about my magazine cutting process in my June plan with me. So if you are interested in seeing that, check out that video. But otherwise, I just put on a show and cut out of magazines. And right now I'm doing a rewatch of Degrassi, which is like the longest show ever. But it's one that I really love. So I just had a relaxing morning. So I took a break from my magazine to run some errands. I got some groceries. I came back, I cleaned my fridge, I did some other chores, and then I came back to my desk and I finally found the J I needed. So I worked on my monthly spread and updated my weekly spread, and I actually went into my planner a little bit and set up some stuff. I checked off some of the chores I was doing and just making sure to keep up with my trackers. I did a little bit of back journaling and then I left my craft room for a bit and I went upstairs to my reading room, which is going to be much better soon when we redo it. And I read for a little bit. Pumpkin came to say hi. And then I had lunch and spent some time with my boyfriend. And then I came back into my craft room again in the afternoon. So I decided to do a little bit of scrapbooking. I really didn't do much this weekend, but I was partially through a project for Cocoa Daisy. I had already printed everything out. I was just going to crop it and put the page together. I had everything planned already. But then I got sidetracked because I had printed one photo for the first week of July in Project Life, and I realized I needed to set up my new Project Life album. So that's what I'm doing here. What I did was I pulled over my album, which is pretty much empty at this point because I don't even have page protectors in it. And I pulled over my craft planner with my Project Life Part 2 for 2024 notes, where I list out what all the weeks are going to be and what kits I'm going to use and what design page protectors. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm just going to put the page protectors into the album and write the dates on sticky notes and put those sticky notes on each of the weekly spreads. I'm just kind of guessing what page protectors I'm going to use for the ones that I don't have them planned yet. But for some of them, I do have plans, so I'm going to use those specific page protectors. For that first week, you can see I put a 8.5 by 11 page protector in there to hold the photo I had printed. And the second week, I am crushing the July kit from Cocoa Daisy, along with some supplies from my stash, but I have a couple of cards from Cocoa Daisy I want to make sure to use, so I also put them in the 8.5 by 11 page protector. You can see I have one over to the right there for the August spread when I get to it. I end up setting up weekly spreads for all of July and August. This album will actually go through the end of the year, but I don't really have a plan that far out so far because obviously I haven't lived that part of the year yet, so I don't know what's going to happen. But at this point, I have a pretty solid plan through mid-August because I'm traveling for most of August, so I have an idea of what those spreads are going to be. And that's kind of what I'm laying out here. I'm also looking, you can see there on my Project Life, on my planner, I have that sticky note that lists out some kits that I want to use. So I'm going to keep those in mind when planning out my weekly spreads. Quickly helping my boyfriend pack for a work trip and just enjoying the rest of my Sunday evening. Okay, it is actually Monday morning, but I'm gonna check in here one last time to kind of wrap up this video. So when I film these vlogs, I try to stay as real to what I actually do, and they don't actually end up being kind of what I planned most of the time. So one of the things last night, I worked on my bracelets to go to the Eras tour, and I just made one. It says crying at the gym. And I had some questions about how I was making these, so I'm just gonna show you quickly. Like, here's the set I have. I just picked up a set of beads on Amazon and some elastic string, and I've just been putting them together while like watching TV and stuff, so that's why I didn't film it. I had intended to film the process at some point this weekend, but I didn't get to it, but I did only make one bracelet. I'm not so great at these. Also, my wrist is so small that you can't really read it. I have to put like shorter phrases, but you know, there aren't really any. I think the next one I'm gonna make is gonna say lavender haze, but we'll see. So far, I think I only have, so far I have made 3. So I have this one that says crying at the gym, this says speak now, and this says I can show you lies. So far, just a small collection. And I'm still struggling with like sizing and trying to figure out what the right size is. I think like, and maybe I won't even wear my watch. I'm definitely gonna wear my watch. I think maybe the crying at the gym one's a little small, and I can show you lies is a little big. Speak now seems to be the right length, but that is kind of what I'm going for. I think I wanna have like at least 10 by the time I go to the concert. So that is that. And then I also wanted to just kind of check in a little bit about what I was working on in the afternoon, because I didn't really film this process either, but a few weeks ago, I got the idea. So let me back up. This year I was working on this, I had a media journal that I was keeping, and it just I wasn't keeping up with it. It's in a Hobonichi A6 day free. So you can see I did some journaling in here about books, a lot of things I just like added and never wrote about. And it was just too hard to keep up with a separate journal. So I decided I wanted to include all this media in my Hobonichi Cousin in like the blank pages, but I wanted to go back and fill out the back of the rest of the year because I don't know, I'm a little crazy about that kind of stuff. And so I just had a list of all of the books. I had printed out all of the media pieces, and I was doing them a little at a time, but it was starting to drive me crazy having stacks of like media on my desk. So I got all of the books in and did the journaling for most of them. Those were my priorities. So I like went through and figured out what pages were blank and which ones had partial pages, and I put my books in. And then I went through and added my movies in as close as possible to the date where I saw it. Some of them are very far off just because that's when I had space. And then I haven't done the TV shows. I don't think I have the space to go back and add those, so I might skip a lot of them. We'll see. There are a few that I do want to add because I had more thoughts on them, but I don't know. We'll see. That's not done yet, but that was basically how I ended that. So I had made like a chart here to keep track of what I had. And then here's my weekly planning, which I really loved how this one was coming out, but over the weekend I just decided to not plan, which is something I do. I just kind of play it by ear. Like if I really feel like having a to-do list is going to keep me focused and on task, I will do that. And you can see like there's even things here I never checked off because I just wasn't like in my planner that much for actual planning during the week. So, you know, it is what it is. Some days I am really into my planner, other days I'm not, and that's part of why I like having this like no day thing here. Next year though, I do think I'm going to have days in here, and we'll see how that goes. But I don't think I talked about this in this video, so I will just give you a recap. This is the B6 Common Planner, which does actually have these weekly vertical spreads, and this just wasn't working for me at all. So I switched to like just drawing my own in the back because you have like all these blank pages in the back. So this is what I'm doing for my weekly like functional planning, but I do only come and make dailies when it makes sense for me. So that is kind of a wrap up on this like relaxed weekend, go with the flow without planning, and just kind of how it went for me. I hope that you got something of value out of this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys on the next one. Thanks. Bye.